Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Jake here at Nerd Level Rising, and we got to wrap up January and everything that we did in that month. So let's get into it, because as always, we got a nice little stack of books, although this one's a tiny bit smaller than what a normal month would be, because that month was crazy, dude. That was a very busy month of my life with all the, outside work, grad school stuff. But nonetheless, we got some great stories. Two of them were left over from December that I'd started a long time ago, right? One was Starside. I did finally finish this. This took me, almost 2 months to get through, like a 400-page YA book. Taking 2 months is pretty crazy, but, that's what happens when you're doing, 5-10 pages a day, right? But this was fun. I enjoyed this, right? Most people what I tend to hear about the Skyward series is that people generally really like book one. Book two seems like it's like, what I hear, it seems like it's roughly even, maybe slightly less preferred on average. I don't know. And then book three is like everyone's least favorite. And then book four is really good again, is what I tend to hear. I liked this quite a bit. I think I liked this, the same, if not slightly better than book one in hindsight. Book one was fun, but it was so much setup. It was so much of just Spencer learning, how to do everything. How to be a pilot, how to do all these things, and sort of learning about herself and how she fits into the world and learning about her past. Here we got, all of that knowledge and growth from book one, and now we get to go see her do this solo mission, right? Where she's really in danger. There's some espionage stuff going on. There is, we're on a different planet essentially, right? So we're seeing a whole different cast of characters, a bunch of different cultures, and some themes there of like, how do I interact with different people? Different people have different belief systems. They don't react the same way that I will. And that doesn't mean that they're wrong, right? And sort of learning that over time was interesting, right? And it was, I think it was handled really well, right? And there's some good representation in there, right? That's not heavy-handed, that's not weird, which is sort of unfortunately, a recent criticism of Sanderson's is that some of that stuff is feeling pretty heavy-handed, in Wind and Truth, for example. But in this one, I didn't feel that way at all. I thought it was really well done, and I really enjoyed that story. And then I did pick up Cytonic after that. I don't know, almost 100 pages into this at this point. So I did get into that a little bit. Again, we're sort of taking Spencer and putting her in a different location again, once more on her own. So we'll see her, I'm sure, make new friends and all that kind of stuff. So I'm interested to see where that goes. I'm trying to go in with open eyes because, I don't want to be swayed by most people saying it's the worst in the series. I just want to go in and have some fun, But so we had that stuff. I also finished up Return to Edan. This was another one that I had started back in December that took a good chunk of December and a really big, all of January really, to get through Return to Edan. But this, I mentioned this in my last video, my update for the week. This was just phenomenal. What a fantastic end to this trilogy. It was a bittersweet ending, but it felt very fitting, very satisfying, very appropriate. There were some things that surprised me about not just this book as a whole, but the ending specifically. And I am so interested to see what he's going to do in the sequel book that comes out later this year. And that's just, I have some thoughts. I have some guesses. I'm going to be talking to Philip about the trilogy here later this week. And so I'll probably throw out some theories to him maybe, because that'll be a full spoiler video. So we'll see if I can crack him, right? We'll see if I can get any insights. But Return to Edan was just fantastic. Brought in a new main character with Saren, who's on the cover here. That she was, I loved everything about her. It's a crazy, very dark journey, but I loved everything about it. It was so gripping, right? Really. Same with Dayraven, and seeing everything that's going on with him. And I don't want to say anything else other than that I really enjoyed watching what was going on with him and seeing, all of our characters, right? The whole sort of band of the fellowship, as it were, and Sequara, what's going on with everybody was so interesting. What's going on, the fallout after book two, I loved seeing all the exploration there. And this was it was the darkest of the trilogy for sure. But wow, what a fantastic, satisfying ending. So I cannot recommend that trilogy highly enough. Please go read these books. I also read Eleuthian by Sam Middleton, that, as I mentioned again in my last video, I'm not going to say a ton about this because we do have a group discussion coming up with the Red company, Chance, Alex, and Chris, and myself. And we're going to get into this in depth. I will say I enjoyed some aspects of this a ton. Some of it was kind of and some of it was just not for me, right? So I'm kind of all over the place. And I thought especially the first half was really, really cool. Really, really solid start. Really cool ideas. And I love the world that he created and sort of the different factions and the sort of political power system and how all that works. There's a lot. The world absolutely feels lived in. Like there's stuff from way, way in the ancient past that we're seeing some how people in the present day interact with those things. Like it's really, really cool. And then it just kind of, I don't know, it sort of fumbled the ending a bit for me in the back half. So anyway, we'll talk about that in a lot more depth in that discussion video, but certainly not a bad book by any means. I'm not trying to, criticize it heavily or anything like that. Some of it was just a personal preference thing for sure. But yeah, I think it's still worth reading if you're interested in like a really deep, intricate world building, fantasy, sci-fi blend, some interesting characters, some interesting like political things going on. I think it's still very much worth the time. I would just maybe, your mileage may vary on how satisfying the back half of it is. That's all I'll say there. And then, as everybody and their mother and their dog is aware of, I read Curse of the Mistwraith in January. This was unbelievably great. This is absolutely, without a doubt, zero question, going to be one of my favorite series of all time. This is my third book from Jani that I read the Gallant novella, the prequel to this story. I read To Ride Hell's Chasm, standalone. Now I've read this, easily one of my favorite authors of all time, easily. And what can I say about this that hasn't already been said? Go watch some of my previous videos if you want to hear me just ramble about this endlessly, but just words, Jani could come up with the perfect word that would describe how I feel about this, right? I struggle to come up with the perfect word, but this, I can't say enough amazing praise for this, the start of this story, and this book in particular was just phenomenal. So crazy. This is a good month, man. This was a good month. We got some really good stuff going, and it comes time to pick the book of the month. And it's, if you listen to me talk about these, it's clearly between these two, right? It's between Curse of the Mistwraith and Return to Edan. And I've gone back and forth on this a lot because this felt like this is going to be an all-time favorite for sure. And just the anticipation of the rest of the series is so exciting. It's so exciting. And I think it might be my favorite prose that I've ever read. It's certainly up there. Steven Erikson's is definitely up. That's probably the top spot for me right now is Erikson. Rockio is really up there. Jani's definitely up there as probably my top three, right? So like just the prose itself as being part of the experience, massive, right? Philip's prose is exceptional as well. I think it's very similar to this, right? It's not quite to this. It's not quite as archaic. It's not quite as you don't have to go quite as slowly in this to really catch everything. Although I will say, I think the difficulty of this is a bit overstated. I think this read very, very smoothly. If this is your first Jani Wirtz book, it might be a little bit harder to get into it. Once you get into the swing of it, though, I think it's fine. But because I've already read a couple books, I just picked this up and just very, very smooth sailing, very easy ride. It wasn't confusing. It wasn't convoluted. It wasn't anything, right? I took some notes while I was reading, but I didn't have to, you know what I mean? Anyway, this, as I've just got done talking about, was also phenomenal. So I'm trying to pick which one of these. I think I'm going to cheat again for the second time. I think we're going to say a tie between a Wirtz book and a Chase book for my book of the month. This happened with book 2, Prophet of Edan, and To Ride Hell's Chasm. I think that was maybe in November, maybe. I just can't pick one, dude. I can't do it. They both were so amazing, so much anticipation for the rest of the series, such a satisfying conclusion for this. What do you want me to say? So we are doing a spoiler discussion with Philip on Friday to talk about this trilogy. Very excited for that, so we can get deeper into this at that point. And sometime here in the not too distant future, I won't say the date because I don't think he's officially announced it yet, we'll be doing the first spoiler live stream discussion for Curse of the Mistwraith, that big read along for the Wars of Light and Shadow over on the Talking Story channel. So I'm going to save, my more detailed thoughts for that, but keep an eye out for that announcement. That'll be really, really fun. So there we have it, man. That's everything that I read. There's my books of the month, I guess. Man, it was a good month, man. It was a good month. There was, not everything was an absolute banger, but the two that were like bangers of all bangers, right? Okay, other stuff on the channel. I did do some live streams this month, and I was able to be a guest on a couple things, which was amazing. So guest appearances, I was on Chance Dillon's channel for his cover reveal live stream hangout. Let's just kind of chill, talk about books, talk about his book and his writing and all that. So Chance is the man. Make sure that you go check out his channel. Make sure you subscribe to his Patreon. It's totally free, but you get all of his writing updates early. You get some short stories. You get all that kind of stuff. So a lot of value there. I can't wait for his book, man. It's gonna be so cool. And the cover is very, very cool. So that was super fun. I was a guest on Chris's channel, Bearded Book Beast, for Beast Friends Forever. Stoked to have been a guest on that one. Chris is the man, one of my best friends that I've made here on YouTube, and just a really good friend in general, not even just on BookTube friends, like just a great friend in general. It was awesome to just to hang out with him. Anytime I get a chance to talk to him is super, super fun. I did, on a similar note, anytime I get the chance to hang out and talk with Alex from Iskandaria, it's also super fun. So we did a live stream for One Piece, the Water 7 saga. That was on my channel. I think the ideas were probably going to alternate. We did one on his channel for Skypiea. We did this one on my channel for Water 7, and we'll probably just go back and forth for some spoilery discussions of One Piece there. That was awesome. Alex, much more seasoned veteran of One Piece than me. So when we talk about it, it's really fun, and he's able to point out some stuff that I missed. And, we're able to just have a really engaging and interesting dialogue about this story that just means a ton to him, and it has come to grow to be a really, really meaningful thing to me as well. And I'm already thinking, obviously I'm into tattoos, right? So I'm already like, so we're going to have to get a One Piece tattoo at some point. I don't know what it'll be, but I need to get caught up on the series first to make sure that I choose the thing that feels the most right, but it'll probably happen someday. But that was amazing. More talks with friends. I did a big spoiler discussion for Win and Truth on my channel. That was with Alex there once again. That was with Tom Orange, Vera, and Brian from BellTube. The five of us just went all in on spoiler discussion for Stormlight 5. Incredibly divisive book, obviously. And that was just, it was super fun and super interesting. And, I definitely learned some things. I definitely came out of it with, I think we all kind of took points from each other of like, oh yeah, that's a great point. Like, you've kind of convinced me a little bit of this, but did you think about this thing though? And it was just a great, well-rounded, I think, back and forth. We tried to, I think all five of us still at the end of the day enjoyed the book. Some of us more than others, but none of us hated it. None of us DNF'd it. And I wanted to make sure that I wanted it to be a well-rounded discussion with people who had strong criticisms as well. But obviously, if you didn't even finish the book, then we can't talk full spoilers for the whole book, right? So that's why no one was on the stream who DNF'd it. But I did try to get some other people who were more negative to really round out the discussion even more, but just scheduling and stuff was tricky. We couldn't make it work with everybody. But I think we still did a good job of addressing a lot of points of not just praise, but also of criticism. And we're all very much aware that this book is far from perfect. Even those of us, I think probably myself and Tom are the ones who enjoyed it the most, I think, out of the five of us. But even the two of us are like, yeah, like this is far from perfect, dude. Like, there's some pretty glaring issues, but nonetheless, it was still great. And, I watched the big 3-hour whatever review from Tudor Ramble on the book, and I think they made some awesome points there also that really, I'm sitting, it doesn't take away from my enjoyment by any means, but I'm certainly open to the idea that I was so excited for Stormlight 5 that I just refused to not love it. And so I'm really interested to see on a reread someday if it still holds up and it still feels really good to me, or if I start to feel disappointed at that point. I hope not, right? I hope not. But it was go watch that review. Super interesting. It was great. Speaking of those guys, I had them on, the Tudor Ramble guys, Austin and Richard, for an episode of NLR together. That was super fun. Those guys are awesome. they're so engaging, they're so interesting, they're so fun to talk to that, they almost kind of drove the conversation a bit on my channel when I was trying to, not interview them, but just have a good time and hang out and talk shop. And, it was funny timing too. I was so, very high stress time, in the month there. So I think my brain was not as sharp and on the ball as it could have been, but nonetheless, it was still a super fun conversation. I love talking to those guys. I definitely would love to talk to them again soon. That'd be just, they're just cool. They're cool dudes, right? Also had NLR together with Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads. This was a super, super fun conversation. Another one that was long overdue. And, Andrew was, I owe a huge, virtual hug to Andrew for helping my channel kind of get up off the ground. He was one of the people who gave me a shout out very, very early on. And I think that helped a lot. So that was awesome just to be able to sit down one-on-one and talk there. And we got into, talk books a lot, but we also talked a lot about anime. And that was so fun, right? To talk to somebody who also was into some older stuff. And that was, I don't know, it was super cool. And he has since gone back and revisited Berserk and has been reminded of just how masterful that story is. And I'd like to think I played some small part in that by trying to sell that to him in that stream. So spreading the good word of Berserk and the masterpiece by Miura, rest in peace. But we had that, and then I also had one more NLR Together live stream. That was with Will McLaughlin, my friend, the fantasy writer. Go follow his Instagram. I'll put his Instagram handle in the description here. That all of his writing updates are on there. His book's going to be really cool. Excited for that. So keep up to date with him there. But that was super fun. We talked all kinds of writing stuff. Writing in D&D were kind of the biggest things there that we talked about, which was awesome. Obviously, we got into some other things as well, but he had some really, really great writing advice for people who really want to get into it, but they're just not really sure how to start, or maybe they feel some anxiety around starting, or they feel blocked, or any of those sort of. Anytime you go to do something creative, it's tough to really put yourself out there, and to really commit to it and to really give it your best try. And I think he had some really, really good insights on that. And then he's a super experienced D&D player and DM. So that was really cool to pick his brain a little bit about that stuff. So bunch of live streams, fun discussions, hanging out with friends. Always a good, that's what this is all about at the end of the day, right? Like, it's fun to make these videos and just talk about books and stuff, but that's really why I wanted to do this, is to, one, do these live streams and just make friends with people, have fun conversations in real time, and two, talk to you guys in the comments, right? Talk to you guys in the comments. I love it. So if you made it through this video, thank you so much for watching. Give it that thumbs up, hit that like button. If you like what I'm doing here, you haven't subscribed yet, maybe hit that subscribe button. It's always nice to see the channel grow. But as I said, talk to me in the comments, man. I love it so much. It's so much fun. I'll get back to everybody as fast as I can now that life has calmed down just a little bit, and I can, not be so AWOL on the social media, these days as I was earlier in January. But that's what it's all about, man. The conversations, the relationships, friendships, all of that. Okay, great February. Talk to me about how your February. Great January. I'm all over the place. Maybe I should edit these videos. Great January. Talk to me about how your month was. What was your book of the month? Do you think I'm doing a cop-out by having a tie? I don't think so, but I'm open to your criticism, to your feedback, whatever. I don't care. I'll do what I want. Anyway, I'll see you in the comments. Thanks for watching.